Ladies and gentlemen, we live in hell, and that should be evident to you if you have eyes. That's sort of my whole point with this podcast, is because we live in a world now where most people get their information from, like these talking heads and everything. Every opinion is sort of this regurgitated track that they encapsulated somewhere else into their brain. And like, my whole reason for doing this is that I'm a nobody. I'm absolutely no one, which means that I have no vested interest in almost anything that happens on this planet. But I also think that means that I might be more in a position to just sort of point out that we've completely gone off the deep end on all sides. Even if you've managed to relatively maintain your sanity through this, whatever has been going on the last almost half a decade now, you are still, to a level, myself included, indoctrinated by the things that, by journalists and the news media at large. And that's not to say that all media is bad. It certainly is not. But when they are sort of rolling with the societal times, it's inevitable that, and my prime example is going to be the first story that I talk about today, because it's a national headline that involves repercussions for a human being and TikTok. Now, my last episode was titled "TikTok Kids Are Terrorists," and now that's not necessarily the theme in what I'm going to cover with this story, but it's still just insane to me that a social media platform of 15-second videos from either mentally ill or prepubescent children have so much foothold in the landscape of our society. It is just crazy. It's just crazy to me. And so that's sort of, I'm hoping that with this podcast I could just sort of be a voice that's not, because nobody likes having fucking celebrities tell them what to think, or not that I want to tell anybody what to think. I just want to sort of present this angle of like, hey, we're not doing good on either side. We spent 4 years, a lot of people, just pulling your hair out every morning because of what you were seeing and flirting with things that were, you could liken them to fascism in some extent. But now, we have Biden in, and a lot of things just sort of calmed down. A lot of people who had been loud were no longer loud, and it was simply because there wasn't a maniac saying things into a microphone every day on live television. That doesn't mean that there weren't still maniacs behind the scenes being maniacs, because that is what our political structure is. For anyone to think that they know better than anyone else and can do a better job at maintaining law and order over an entire population, like, these people are psychopaths, and none of them give a shit about you. And the sooner that we realize that, I think the sooner we maybe have a chance to pull ourselves out of this fucking tailspin that we are in. So I don't mean to get started today with just a rant right out of the gates, but it's just sort of, I don't know if maybe it's even doing this podcast where I've been digging into these stories that aren't necessarily what is headline news for everybody. But it's still things that are gaining traction with our media, and they are still stories that are being pumped out there into the world. And I just think that it does a pretty good job of detailing the fraying of the fabric of our society. It's just so, like I said, I know that it's, some people might be turned off by this format because they're just like, who the fuck is this guy talking about anything? And I get that. I understand that. But my perspective is that everybody would get annoyed at those commercials where it was, celebrities telling you, like, you better vote, you better get out there and vote, like, as if we were too stupid to understand our own influence in this world. But this whole, everyone, the whole advertising market and the whole PSA world, like, all of this is being bankrolled by these corporations that will do anything to keep you interested. It's not, and I'm talking like Nike getting behind Colin Kaepernick, who I feel like did get maybe, the raw, and to say what happened didn't affect his career is insane. But then Nike, and everybody who was on board with Colin Kaepernick and behind him through his adventures, Nike started putting out these ads, and everybody was like, fuck yeah, Nike. Like, good for you, Nike, to be on the right side of history. Meanwhile, they got a cargo ship full of Scooby-Doo Band-Aids being shipped over to Malaysia or wherever they have these 5-year-olds stitching their shoes together to, cover the wounds on their tiny little hands. Shit. What I'm saying is that a lot of these companies and corporate interests and anybody in a position of power or fame or fortune, anything like that, when they have a message to us, the regular people, it is never coming from a genuine place. There is always a motive. There is always, a play being made. There's always. So I'm hoping that maybe just having somebody with no vested interest in anything, I'm not, I'm nobody, and I'm thinking that maybe just having regular people starting to talk and understand that this is all bad. It's all bad. Like, it's all bad. Everything that's happening, we're, and I'm not saying we all have to like start holding hands and hanging out in the park feeding ducks together. That's not gonna happen. I understand that, but I feel like the and I've said this before, I feel like the furthest divisions on both sides, right and left, I feel like they only exist just to spite one another. I don't even necessarily believe that people on either side adopt every belief that their team is supposed to have. I just think they fucking hate the other one more, and they're willing to just be like, all right, whatever. Like, I just know I'm not that, so I guess I'm this. And I think that that's a problem. I think that a generation of people who didn't grow up on the internet now suddenly being attached to the internet in an even older, you know what I mean? These are people who were parents during the 90s who, their kids were online, but maybe they went and checked an email or whatever. They didn't know. But now that they have Facebook on their cell phone in their pockets, it's this weird thing where they're being subjected to this information that their brain doesn't necessarily know how to filter through a proper filter. And that's why you have things like QAnon and some of these more out there conspiracy theories that that are running around these days. And I touched on that last week, and I think it's all relative. And I think that I was sort of mulling over like why I'm doing this or like how I'm doing it and what my goal was going to be. And I don't really have a goal. Like, I'm not trying to I don't think people should listen to me necessarily, like, on anything that I ever say as far as my opinion on because I'm, like I said, I'm an idiot. I'm nobody. I'm just an observer of this world, and I feel like as an observer of this world who is not of any social standing or any importance or of any influence. Like, I think that those are the people that's the normal people. That is most people in this country, and I think that is. I think there's a lot more people in the middle than anybody thinks. And I think that a lot of people are afraid to be more in the middle because maybe most of their friends lie on one side of the tracks. And they don't want to lose those friends because, fucking meeting people, ugh. And I could see how just for the sake of not having uncomfortable conversations with people that you love, you'd be more willing to maybe just bend and yes and them through some shit that you maybe don't fully co-sign. Myself included, I've done that too. There's some people that I'm friends with that are a little more like heavy to one side. I'm willing to see their point so I can usually nicely just button it up without really agreeing with them or having to like add anything to the conversation, but without also not trying to change their mind. Because that's what I'm learning, is that a lot of these people aren't going to have their minds changed on either side. So I think it's up to the rest of us who have kind of just been in the middle, floating around going, what the fuck is going on? I think we need to weaponize that. I think we need to weaponize that what the fuck is going on mentality and attempt to correct course with our friends on the outskirts who have lost a grip on it, we'll say. I don't know. This is weird. This isn't even funny. I'm just fucking rambling here. But it's one of those weird things where, like, again, I'm nobody, so I'm seeing the numbers that these episodes are putting up, and I'm just like, Jesus Christ, what am I doing this for? obviously the intent is for it to grow, and with that being said, I'm reaching out to those listening that if you are enjoying this, or if there's even like parts of it that you like, certain things, like, please feel free, share clips of it. I put all the episodes up on YouTube. You can clip it down, do however you like, share it, like the post, share the posts. Anything helps to get more eyes on it. And if it's not a good product, I'll pull it. I'm heavily critical of myself, so it's not going to take much. My days are mostly spent just like with my hands on my head, just going, oh God, when I see these things. And I've tried to get out of the world of heavy political news because it was ruining my life. Arguing with stupid people on the internet that I will never meet in real life, and then walking around with actual anger, or, like it took something out of you. You weren't in the same mood you were before you had it. And that's insane. That's insane. So I've tried to knock that off. But these stories that I'm covering aren't even like, the biggest things happening in the world, but I think that they, again, point to how we are just falling apart as a society. So that's it. I don't know. This is mostly meant to be funny, but if there is an underlying theme, it's that we're laughing off the edge of the cliff, because you got to laugh or you'll cry. But and I don't want this to be too cynical, but like the fucking world is, it warrants being cynical about it. You could be sunshine and rainbows all you want. Just because you read The Secret and think you understand karma, it doesn't always seem to work that way. Maybe it's at play, but maybe it's not. And if it's not, that would really explain why there's a lot of shitheads in real positions of power out there. So I just have a hard time with that logic. So I'd like to deal in realities. And the reality is that everybody is fucking losing their mind. And if you're not losing your mind to the degree that you've fully supported one team implicitly, it's to a degree where everyone is sort of compromised now because of social media. It's unavoidable. Even if you're trying to consciously choose to stay out of it, it still enters your brain. And this is going to be a real thing. I can't wait. I'm being presumptuous to assume that we have 20 years left on this planet, but in 20 years, assuming we make it, what people will say about this time, I can only imagine. I can only imagine what will be the reflection on this period of time. So, again, I'm going to wrap this up and get into the stories and attempt to make some crude jokes about these things. But I sort of also just had this weird thing where because I question myself and everything I do and realize my place in this world, why would anybody want to listen to me? So that's why I'm trying to explain myself here, and maybe I'm overdoing it, but I'm attempting to just I understand that I'm nobody. I don't think that anybody should be listening to me over anybody else, or that my opinion is more valid than anyone else. I'm simply hoping that there are other folks out there who feel like it hasn't paid off to implicitly back one side, and that no matter what we do, even with a new guy in the White House, still feels like we are pedal to the floor, fucking heading for the cliffside, And that's all I'm going to say about that. I'm going to knock this shit off. Jesus, I keep, at a certain point, when does it feel like you're just trying to find more words to just keep talking? I don't know that it's that as so much as you're afraid that everything you just said was horrific and stupid, and you just digging yourself out. So, moving on. Let's get into this first story. So I'm going to go back on something that I said, kind of. I said nobody gives a shit about the Olympics. Still believe that. But I'm going to cover this story because it's bonkers. Team USA paintball player kicked off team after backlash over controversial TikTok. Yeah, that's the one I was talking about. This is on NBC News. Written by Callan Rosenblatt. First of all, did not know Team USA had a paintball team. When did paintball become an Olympic sport? Why? I just don't understand this. The kind of people that I know, that I'm not disparaging paintball players, but I would never put them in the same category of athlete as like Olympians. Like they're dumbing down the Olympics to a point because I think they know that nobody cares, and this is some sort of weird grab at the Monster Energy drink market or something. I am not sure. And this was a woman's paintball team. For Christ's sake. How did we do? I'm assuming if it involves running through urban landscapes, firing weapons at one another, that we do pretty good at it. So, professional paintball player Jessica Maiolo put out a TikTok of with a news story playing in the background about a teenage boy with COVID, and talking about, I guess the mother might have been on there talking about a vaccine, and this girl put, your son doesn't need a vaccine, he needs a fucking treadmill, which is questionable for an Olympian to put out. If one of my friends said that, I would have thought it was very funny. The kid's a teenager, because, like, let's be serious. If we weren't talking about this kid having COVID and being in a hospital, if the story was this kid beat up a handicapped student, you'd be like, if it was the Covington kid with the MAGA hat who was smiling in the Native American man's face as he was playing a tambourine, like that kid, everybody was like, man, punch that kid in the fucking face. Punch that kid in the fucking face. But now that it's like, he's in the hospital and he's sick, everybody's like, oh, he's a helpless teenager. I feel bad for the kid. I hope he's fine. I don't wish any ill on him. I just think it's funny how people's viewpoints, it's like the old Dave Chappelle bit of how old is 15 really, because it just seems to sort of sway back and forth depending on what the story is and who the mark is. So Andrea Martinez, another member of the team, had just woken up from a nap when she saw the video of her teammate. Her husband had awakened her, telling her something was up with her team. Her phone was going crazy. Her teammates were competing on the East Coast. They were frantically trying to contact her to alert her about the TikTok video that was setting off a firestorm. Once she opened the video, Martinez could not believe what she was seeing. Could not believe? Something tells me this girl was probably like the outspoken one at practice, that everybody was just kind of like, ugh, roll your eyes, and God damn it. She is, so Jess Maiolo, a Team USA paintball member, she posted a 15-second TikTok video of herself, as I explained earlier. Martinez, after she saw the video, she said, I was really disappointed. It's not in line with me and my values and the things that I believe in, obviously. Well, we don't know that. We didn't know who you were until you were asked to comment on your dumb teammates' bungle, we'll call it. The video was eventually deleted, but it has caused waves in the paintball community. Hell hath no fury. She has been indefinitely removed, which is an interesting way of wording it, from the team in the wake of the backlash. Other paintballers from the San Diego Dynasty, a professional team, said that they put the sport, which they said is a largely welcoming and warm community, in a negative light. Quote, a lot of people are paying attention to paintball right now, and it absolutely 110% gives us a terrible image. I don't know. I think being a professional paintball player might already help that image. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to picture a certain type, And she is absolutely not a representation of Team USA. Which I don't know. I don't know that she wouldn't be an accurate representation of the USA. Maybe what they would like the perception of the teams, to be, but that's debatable. Some smaller organizations that are tangentially related to the team said they were inundated with messages and backlash. As inundated with messages. This is how bored people are. Like, here's what I'm saying. Unless it is something so egregious that you would never be able to walk away from it and live with yourself having not said something, for you to see a TikTok video and then go out of your way to learn who is the proper point of contact to report the person whose video made you upset, you have to understand that is the exact same level of stupid and insane as it is to put a video out like that when you're an Olympian. This is what I'm saying. We are dealing with the same people. They believe different things. They have different ways of communicating with it, but they are the same. They are the same thing. And this is, I mean, just to think that an Olympian was taken down by a TikTok video regarding COVID-19. This is the world that we're in right now. I defy you to tell me that it is not hell. So on her Instagram account afterwards, Maiolo posted a statement saying that she regrets the situation she has put her teammates in and that given the chance to go back, she would choose her words more carefully. Quote, "It was never my intention to shame any individual. My reaction to the story about the young boy actually comes from a place of deep fear that people believe they have little hope in the way of staying healthy and being in control of their own wellness," which is slightly better than the usual response of like, well, I've learned in the 24 hours since people have gotten mad since I said something stupid. You know, like you're always meant to believe that they've done this tremendous amount of growth in the 48-hour news cycle while they are shitting their pants and losing sponsorships left and right. There's always a level of disingenuousness that comes. Is that a word? Not going to check it out. There's always a level of that involved when people apologize for something like too quickly that's supposed to that should have involved reflection or real, soul searching of character. But that's all they want. They don't really care if you've changed. All they want is the apology. That's all they want. They just want to force you to do that. And I'm not even going to get into it too much. It's just it would mean more if they still held these people's feet to the flames afterwards, if they were really as virtuous as they would have you believe. But that's all I'm saying. If you're seeing shit like this and then you're finding contact information for like marketing VPs of companies that are sponsoring an Olymp, like you are a lunatic and you're not helping. You're not helping anything ultimately. So it was never this girl's intention to shame anyone after saying that he didn't need a vaccine. He needed a fucking treadmill. That came from a place of deep fear, she says, deep fear. That people believe that they have little hope in the way of staying healthy and being in control of their own wellness. And, I mean, I got to give it to her. That's a pretty nice way to put a bow on it. Like I said, given your usual canned apologies in these situations where people haven't changed their opinions at all, they simply got in trouble for having them and are now attempting to correct course. This one's pretty good. This is a pretty good one. Because I do think that people should be worried about individuals who might not be in the best health getting COVID. Sure, but to be... Oh, God, never mind. There was no way that this wasn't going to end with me making a joke about a fat kid with COVID in the ICU. So I'm not on an Olympic paintball team, so fuck you. Go, try and take it from me. But some, though, even though she apologized, believe in the paintball community that the damage might have already been done. 2 professional paintballers said that, this shaming someone for the way that they look is antithetical to the values they have learned playing the game of firing colored spheres at a high rate of speed at other people running around the woods. The values. Jesus Christ. See, all these people are so up their own ass, it's hard to take any of it seriously. The people apologizing for the things, the people saying that they're mad about the things, everyone is just so fantastically full of shit and up their own ass that this is, like I said, we've created this reality. I don't know, and we gotta get out of it. We gotta get out of it. The band's tuning up. If we're on the Titanic, the band is tuning up. So apparently, even after this, after she was, indefinitely removed from the team or whatever stupid phrase they used, I guess people on social media they were still upset. Following other Instagram posts that had showed the team practicing somewhere, and I guess she was there. because, they said she had been suspended. Well, yeah. I mean, when players get suspended from other teams for sports, like, they don't, they probably still show up for practice. They can't play in the game for a little while. But again, to go on social media, figure that out, have that thought, and decide, I must be heard. It's insane. It's insane. So, I don't know what's going to happen to this girl. I guess she's not going to ever get a gold medal put around her neck for firing, for Jackson Pollocking a human being on the move in camouflage, which is very sad. I feel for her, but serves you right. That's what you'll get for body shaming on TikTok. Silly goose. Moving on from this because I can't handle it. The MyPillow guy, as if he wasn't already, Mike Lindell, as if he had already not come off the rails entirely. He is crashing and burning right now as the QAnon goalposts continue to get moved, and these lunatics continue to spin new stories to push the date back of whenever Great Awakening is supposed to happen in our country. And this guy he would be the Jim Jones of that community of people. He has been just on a tour with this nothingness. We'll call it nothingness. So this is in the Washington Post. So apparently this all started with an envelope containing a document that was written in Portuguese. It was translated. You learn it's a written confession from a criminal who is currently sucking billions of dollars a day from millions of individual checking accounts. So Lindell, who has for months been claiming that he had definitive proof that the 2020 presidential election was stolen by China, he pledged to release that information at a, quote, cyber symposium. What a dork. That is underway in South Dakota. Oh, for fuck's sake. The entire sentence is just like, ugh. According to Lindell, someone captured internet traffic in the days after the election that shows how votes were shifted away from Donald Trump and to President Biden. Instead of simply presenting this evidence to the public, he withheld it, offering $5 million to anyone who can prove that the information is not legitimate. What? Rob Graham, a technologist and author, went to the summit to evaluate what Lindell claims to have, and during a, quote, breakout session, he and other individuals were provided with access to Lindell's team and the claims that they are making, and they were given a collection of files that consisted of a list of computer internet protocol addresses, IP addresses, random code, just random sequences of code, gibberish, if you will. So, and even some of them were given regular text format files, and others were inexplicably given hexadecimal encoded versions of it. The material was basically just a confusing bunch of shit that didn't mean anything. And that's basically what one guy there said. They pledged to hand over the real information Tuesday night or Wednesday. Lindell was live streaming the entire event. It was being watched by hundreds of thousands of people, which is fucking just unbelievable. And my favorite part is that while being watched by hundreds of thousands of people and talking about how the election was stolen, he, I shit you not, found ways to distribute discount codes for MyPillow. And I'm guessing that he needs the business because Jesus Christ Almighty, I'm sure that he's, we'll say, taking a hit. It's been a case for months that this guy has been saying that his cyber experts saw proof of vote hacking in the captured packets of data. You would think that this would be, after months, pretty easily disseminated by anybody with a brain and any know-how in a computer, but apparently they're having a tough time with it, or they're just holding on to it. They've never explained what it all means. They're just sort of looking at it, and they're like, there's a pattern. If you're looking, there's a pattern. And because that's what these people do. They connect vague dots, and there's this weird, and I don't know if it's a lifetime of feeling inadequate mentally, or like, never feeling like you were the smartest person in the room, that now you sort of like overcompensate when you gain access to this information that you believe is true and that most other people aren't smart enough to find or believe on their own. It's got to be something like that, doesn't it? It's the only way it really makes sense to me. Like just people who always felt not the brightest, and now they feel like they finally got a leg up on people. I don't know. That's my theory on a lot of it. So yeah, there's just all these random files with no real meat to it. So I don't know how you would ever be rewarded this prize for proving that. I don't know how you would prove that like a smorgasbord of garbage information was not true, or the other way around. But you would think that for as much money as some people on the right side of things have, you would think that if this was like a viable thing, that there'd be like somebody throwing money at it to prove that it was real and get it out there to the masses to stop the steal. So yeah, this guy, he's completely off the rails. He's got nothing left. He's one of the top champions of this nonsense, and I just I don't know how a bunch of people were just like, I like this guy. I like the cut of this guy's jib. I like his near Dr. Phil impression. He's like if Billy Mays was eaten by Dr. Phil. R.I.P. Billy Mays. Like, I don't understand how anybody would ever take this guy. Because imagine if Billy Mays was on the steps of the Capitol shouting about John F. Kennedy Jr. and fucking QAnon. You'd be like, holy shit, this guy has been inhaling fumes of OxyClean for a decade, and it has absolutely fried his fucking brain. But no, this guy is out there in South Dakota live streaming to hundreds of thousands of wannabe Timothy McVeighs. And they all got a discount code for MyPillow. So that's nice. Fuck that guy, really. He's such a dumb shit. And it's like these people, like how do these people get into these positions? How could anybody with a straight face be like, I align politically with the MyPillow guy? I don't know, man. So Ezekiel Elliott, the quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, found himself in some trouble recently. It's claimed that one of his dogs fucked up some lady who like entered her yard, I'm guessing. I don't know. They claim that there was video of it, and I watched the video of it, and it's just a shot of a yard, and all you can hear is dogs barking and this lady fucking screaming. Not like dying screaming, so that's why you can kind of laugh about it, but it's just like you could tell she's losing her mind at that moment. And I'll be honest, again, you can't see the attack, but the noises that come from the dog don't necessarily sound like it's attacking the entire time. It just sort of sounds like this lady's screaming. But what do I know? I didn't look into it thoroughly, so if she was really injured, I'm sorry, but your scream was, I can't help it. It was funny. Because I couldn't see it, probably. If you were actually being fucked up by a dog, I don't think I would have found your scream as funny had I been watching it happen. But, out of sight, out of mind. So I guess this isn't the first time that this guy's dogs have gotten out of line, we'll say. But the video shows them enter the yard, and I think it's his yard. I could be wrong. I don't know. They're in a yard. They take a lap around the pool. They exit stage right. A few seconds later, you hear the lady. Now, she provokes them. She shouts at them. And because you can't see, I'm not victim blaming. But who's to say she didn't make a move that maybe spooked these dogs? I'm just saying. We don't know. Watch the video, though. It is entertaining. Unless you're not damaged in the way that I am, then you might find it disturbing. But yeah, it's just the media is plugging this as like there's footage of it, and like there's not. There's audio of it. That's That's what there is. The woman claims to have suffered severe and permanent injuries to her finger, forearm, thigh, and stomach. I don't know what there is to back that up. Again, I'm not calling her a liar. I'm just saying she yells at the dog first. You don't hear a whole lot of noise out of the dog, and then she just starts screaming in a manner that I'm not going to say sounds like she's... I feel like it's funny because it feels fake. So that immediately implies that I'm saying that she was faking it, which I'm not willing to do. Just watch the video. You'll see what I mean. But, hey, at least he's not Michael Vick with his dogs, you know? He clearly loves these dogs enough to just, like, let them run free. That was from TMZ, so the sensationalized headline shouldn't be surprising to me, but it's a video surfaces of Ezekiel Elliott's dog attack. Yeah, it's a still shot of a backyard in a swimming pool, and you can hear a lady losing her mind off to the side. I'm not perverted. I'm just Italian, said Andrew Cuomo, former governor of New York. Holy shit, ladies and gentlemen, I have seen a lot of interviews go poorly. I've seen a lot of people have bad sound bites get out there where they had to just immediately after the words left their lips, they were just like, oh shit. This guy, if there was an Olympic sport of saying the wrong thing, this guy's Michael Phelps. So Governor Cuomo, after having what I would say is probably the short of, who was that guy that shot himself on camera? Bud, whatever. You know who I mean. This has to be the worst interview that I've ever, that anybody could have ever, this is the worst statement that anybody ever could have made publicly. It has to be. It was just chock full of sound bites that will be mocked into oblivion for the rest of time. I'm not perverted. I'm just Italian, obviously, being the Gold Star winner here. But the almost non-apology, where he's like, I never thought I'd cross the line, but apparently they redrew the lines, and I was on the wrong side of one. So, they got me. And that's just such a crazy, it's such a crazy way of dealing with things. And like the way he handled like the photo of with him with two hands on a woman's face, like going into kiss her. He's like, I have been doing this my entire life. It's just, if he has a guy that's supposed to get him to not say dumb shit, this guy just has to be absolutely losing his mind off camera, just going, Jesus Christ, Andy. Just, how about you say anything just say anything that's not fucking horrible right now. So, he has stepped down as governor, and I'm assuming he's going to see some probably jail time, maybe not, I don't know, but so they were investigating 11 cases, 9 of which occurred with state employees. 9, 11, governor in New York. I want to know what this guy knows about the fucking towers. So, yeah, I'm not going to get into it. That one's a heavily cited news story, so I'm sure everybody knows just about all they need to know about that case. I just couldn't resist commenting on that and the likelihood that it was the second choice for a slogan right next to "When You're Here, Your Family." What else do we got here? Here is a nice fluff piece for you. Lancaster City Police say they uncovered a graphic and violent crime scene at a home on the 200 block of Strawberry Street on Wednesday. Police say a relative of 32-year-old Donald Meshi Jr. called authorities Wednesday morning saying she believed she had seen the head of one of her family members in a freezer. When officers arrived, they say Meshi Jr. told them he stabbed what he thought was a, quote, cadaver doll that looked and sounded like his father for 2 to 3 minutes with a knife. Let that sink in for a minute. He stabbed what he thought was a cadaver doll that looked and sounded like his father. So doesn't that immediately cancel it out? I mean, a cadaver doesn't sound like anything, right? Obviously, this person is insane. So I get that rational thinking is entirely out the window here, but, that's like pretty heavy context clue. In my eyes. 2 to 3 minutes. That's a lot of stabbing. That is a lot of stabbing. Like, assuming you're not underwater or wearing, like, a suit of armor, that's a lot of stabbing in 2 to 3 minutes. Damn. He then dismembered the body, placing the head in the freezer. Just the head? Just the head. Well, interesting. The coroner's office later confirmed that the head from the freezer was a human head. Oh, come on, guys. Come on. It was a gruesome discovery, and as residents put it, something out of a horror movie. Many residents on the 200 block of West Strawberry Street in Lancaster are in shock, unable to make sense of what happened. Yeah, because it's a lunatic behaving like a lunatic. It's not supposed to make sense. That's what makes them a fucking psychopath. Quote, "It's wild to think that something like that would happen here in the city, here in Lancaster, so close to home. It's wild to think it would happen anywhere." I guess I'd say the same thing if it happened in my town, but, like, isn't that weird to happen anywhere? Except maybe, in Mexico, in a cartel area. I don't know, but even then, it's not conflated with mental illness. They're cutting your head off for a very clear purpose, to them, at least. Jesus Christ. So the investigators, they continue to process the crime scene and collect evidence. They identified the victim as a 67-year-old male, Donald L. Meshi. Man, this is wild. It's a developing story, so there's not really much else in the way of information right now, but I mean, yeah, the guy he's obviously insane either way, but there was either some kind of delusion going on where that's actually true, that he thought it was a cadaver that sounded like something, his father, sounded like anything as a dead body. I mean, if I was sure that it was a dead body and it sounded like anything to me, I'd fucking cut its head off too. That feels like a pretty reasonable response. Yeah, I'm not sure. Just like everything else, I'm not sure, and I think that everybody needs to be a little less sure about what they think they're sure about. You got that? All I'm saying, not to go back to the intro to this episode, which I'm sure I'm going to listen back and just be like, why, dude? Or maybe I'll cut it out entirely, which I would then have to cut out this part so you didn't hear it and we're like, what the fuck is he talking about? Oh, what a mess. I'm probably going to leave it mostly just because I'm lazy, but yeah. So that's all I'm hoping to do with this podcast is just show in a funny way, hopefully, how we are falling apart as a society. And I mean, I would love for my show to no longer have purpose because we get it back on the rails. I'll do something else. You know what I mean? I'll start a different podcast. This just feels like, because I just feel like it's what I talk about most of the time, and it's where most of my thoughts lie when I'm observing the world at large around me recently, is I'm just overwhelmed with this feeling of, what the fuck? And I can't be the only one. Because I feel like I talk to a whole lot of people who, even if like on the surface they appear to be far to one side, you can usually kind of reel them back into the middle. Maybe not all the way, but like closer, And I know it's infuriating to nobody wants to have those discussions with people that you love, and it turns into fights and ruins Thanksgiving but that's what I'm gonna hope to do, outside of just making normal people laugh who are outside of this insanity and just holding on for dear life, and maybe bring some perspective to some who God, it just sounds so bad. I'm gonna shut the fuck up. If you listen, I appreciate it. Thank you very much, and we will see you soon. This episode's coming out on Sunday, and as I was rambling about for no reason in previous episodes, I think I'm going to keep that model. I think I like the Sunday release, and I think going forward we're going to move it from Wednesday to Sunday. So thank you for being here, and we'll see you soon. Bye.